Hello, and welcome to the Sound Up Seattle podcast. The Mariners just clinched their spot in the playoffs. John, I'm just going to start off here. How are you feeling about that? We don't have to go into too much detail. We still got to do the intro of the podcast, but I am ecstatic. It's been a crazy 24 hours for me.
I'm pretty pumped. I've been sliding into Naylor's DMs all day. He hasn't responded yet, but I'm hoping to get some sort of response. Sexiest man in Seattle, no doubt about that right now.
Yeah, crazy week. We've got Mariners. We're getting the playoffs, like we said. The Storm go down to the Aces. That's going to be a tough talk, but we will talk about it. UW beats WSU in the Apple Cup. Who would have thought, And then the Seahawks, a crazy game against the Saints that will lead into this Thursday night football game tomorrow against the Cardinals. So we've got a lot to talk about this week. Anything to say before we get started, John?
Let's dive in.
All right, check us out here. We're live on YouTube as we're going, so we're going to stay here. But for those of you on the podcast, here is some Coyote Picnic. All right, John, set the scene. Set the scene. The Mariners down 3-1 against the Colorado Rockies last night. Bases loaded.
Well, and it's worth saying, bases loaded, 2 outs, and boy, did the refs make it hard on us there. Some really tough strike that were actually ball calls on Hernandez, and then again on Arozarena, and then again on Cal Raleigh for the first 2 outs of the inning. I just got to say, before we get to our boy Josh Naylor, I'm so proud of Julio. That is such a tough spot with men on first and second, down 3, 2 outs, and he had a really good at-bat. I know he got hit by a pitch to get on base, but he took 2 really hard pitches to take in that at-bat. I really thought he was just going to 1, 2, 3 swing at the ball. But he did a really good job playing controlled to get on base. And, set up everybody's new favorite Mariner, it seems. I feel bad for Cal. You might have to step aside.
The MVP race has fully changed over the last month.
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. This is the God's honest truth. I have 2 Josh Naylor jerseys in the mail. One for me and one for my brother. That's the level of impact he had with that massive 3-run double, and just with what he's done in Seattle in his time here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, like, this is a guy who has immediately come over and created the spark that's what you make a trade deadline acquisition for, right? We kind of expected it from Gino just because he's been here before. We kind of expected him to pick up where he left off a little bit when he was with the team, but he hasn't. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Josh Naylor, on the other hand, he sees the ball so well in T-Mobile Park. Everybody's talking about T-Mobile Park, he's hitting 350 right now. He's a dude that everybody and their mother want, like, as Mariners fans, they all want the Mariners to sign this guy and extend this guy for 2-3 years, maybe even 4. Like, this is a guy who people want on this team going forward, and it's obviously going to be huge for the playoffs, right? I mean, basically, he's solidified himself as a top 4 hitter for this Mariners team. It's basically going to be Julio, Randy, Cal, and then it's Naylor, and then there's like a Polanco factor. Like, Gino has gone completely by the wayside, which feels a little weird. I still can't wrap my head around that, but it's just been such a crazy turn of events that Josh Naylor, the guy who everybody was kind of clamoring for, and we were all shocked that the Mariners got, the fact that they were able to turn this into like a real guy is really cool.
100%. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the fact that he was the afterthought in this trade. When they made these acquisitions to bring in Eugenio and Naylor, we were all so pumped to get Gino back. And it's like, oh yeah, this Naylor guy, he's got some decent stats. Glad to get him in as well. But it has been the Naylor show. He's been everything we could hope for and more. You hit the 350, and we talked about this before, but I just want to read this out. 350, 613 slugging, 1,015 OPS in T-Mobile Park. That's just beautiful. It's bringing tears to my eyes right now. You're talking about average, man. You can't have it both ways sometimes. And this guy, boy, is he good at getting on base.
It is one of those things that we've talked about this like a month ago at this point. But the lefty with his profile, we related it to Kyle Seager at the time, and it feels like even more true right now with the way that he's able to produce power. He's also just like kind of electrified the way that he plays a little bit, in the sense of like his ability to steal bases and kind of do all of these things on the field have been amplified by playing at T-Mobile and playing for this Mariners team. It's just so cool, man. He's not a floater because we've been talking about him basically every week since we've acquired him, but he's been so good. And now we can talk a little bit about the clinch, right? The Mariners just clinched their spot in the 2025 MLB playoffs. They're going to be playing ball in October. And right now they're vying for the second place spot and going for a bye right now. That would be huge.
Well, yeah, not vying. They've got a vice grip. They are a full 3 games ahead of the AL Central lead for that number 2 overall seed. We don't have to worry about the Blue Jays or the Yankees or whoever ends up claiming that division in the AL East. We have to keep a 3-game lead on whoever comes out of the Central. And by the way, they're bludgeoning each other right now. So unless one team sweeps, there's a very good chance we could clinch the number 2 overall seed in the next 2 games. Because we also have the tiebreaker on both of those teams. So if we can sweep the Rockies, which, by Lord, we should be able to. If we can sweep the Rockies, or if we can steal 1 game against the Dodgers, we will clinch the number 2 overall seed, we will clinch the division, and then Houston can scramble for a playoff spot. I think we do just have to take a step back here. Obviously, the playoff thing is amazing. We can't just blow past. That was an awesome 4-3 win over the shitty Colorado Rockies. Been a week since we talked. Something else pretty cool happened.
Yeah.
We swept the Houston Astros in Houston.
Dude, I was just following those games and just like I turned on the third game, the game where they scored 7 runs in the second inning, and I was just sitting there. I was like, because it was on at I think 6:40 my time, and it was on, and I was just kind of typing away, making some dinner, and then Cal Raleigh, who hit the first home run? Or somebody scored, and then JP hits the grand slam, and I'm just like sitting there alone in my kitchen, just clapping at my computer, like bent over like a crazy person. And it was exactly the feeling that I love with just like Mariners baseball when they're actually playing well. It's just like, oh my God, we're going to actually do this. We're going to beat this team. A little bit of fear. It's the Astros. A little bit of fear that they could come back. But after the second inning, when you're up 7-0, I felt just so much relief. It was like, okay, we've buried these monsters behind us. It really does feel like that's like a time of the past. The Astros are now like on the outs of the playoffs. It feels so good. And it just like the pitching staff was lights out the entire weekend. It was just everything culminated from this season in that weekend, and it was just so awesome to see.
Totally. Yeah. That order you're talking about, it was a Robles walk with bases loaded that pushed in a run.
Yep.
Then the grand slam, and then Cal had his 2-run home run. That's how you get to 7. But yeah, I want to say a couple things about that series. One, the 4-0 victory, the first game on Friday was awesome. Game 2 is what broke this thing open, and in my opinion, broke the Houston Astros for this season. And that was the 6-4 game where Victor Robles flies out of nowhere in the bottom of the 8th inning to get a 2 or 3 run saving snag that prevents them from tying the game. It looks like the ball's going to drop. They're going to get 2 runners in. It's going to be 6-6, and we'll see what happens. Instead, he just comes flying out of the side of the screen. Epic call. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And he kind of rips out Houston's heart there. That was amazing. People are going to forget all about that with what Naylor just did. That was the most impressive play of the Mariners season up until last night. So tough luck for we really should have had Victor as one of our floaters. That's kind of a slip up by us, but he's had some big moments, and it's been awesome to see him round back into form. And then just the last thing I wanted to say, and you touched on this, how great the pitching was, particularly the starting pitching. Obviously, we won the first game 4-0. Second game, they scored all 4 of their runs in the 7th inning. So we got 6 scoreless on them. They rallied a little bit, but we were able to clamp down. And then again, they scored 2 of their 3 runs in the last game in the 7th and 8th innings. So they only scored 1 run in the first 18 innings of the 3 games combined. Through 6, they only scored 1 run in all 3 games. That is amazing starting pitching production.
Yeah, it's amazing, and especially in that ballpark, right? Houston is known for just like kind of destroying in their home ballpark with those left field bleachers and their gluttony of right-handed hitters. So really cool to see. I love the way we were able to kind of jump on Framber Valdez too. Like that's just like everything that we did in this series just showed how this team is ready to be in playoff baseball. Like these are good players. These are good pitchers that we're going against, and we were able to produce runs every single game consistently. And yeah, the Robles thing, dude, the fact that he injured his shoulder like 3-4 months ago, diving into the net in right field in San Francisco, and is just now back to diving in and laying out for those kinds of catches. Basically, like not even a month back into Major League Baseball. Like, this is a guy putting his heart on the line for this team, and it really is just so awesome to see like this team actually getting players that are like the love of the game kind of really shows. And I feel like we haven't had that for the last couple decades. Like, it's been Felix, it's been Kyle Seager, it's been like the fan favorites that have stuck around, but the love of the game thing and the excitement for this team has just like really grown over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been amazing. One last thing on Victor, it kind of just hit me like a brick. It's like, oh yeah, how did we not have him floating? But just him in that Houston series, he came up huge every game. Because the one other cool thing that happened, game 1 we won 4-0. 4 solo home runs, which is just
love that.
Just a swaggy way to win a baseball game. Just 4 solo home runs to win. But our boy Naylor had one of those, and so did Robles. He had a home run in the first game.
His only home run of the season.
Yeah. In the second game, he had the biggest defensive play of the season. In the third game, he had a huge bases-loaded walk to set up the JP Grand Slam and push in an RBI with his walk. And he also had, I'm not sure if you watched that one, he had another awesome catch where he low-key, like, stole it from Julio. He, like, came in front of Julio and got it. And people were like, oh, man, that was a great catch. But Julio had to, like, sit him down and be like, hey, dude, you've been doing great out here, but don't come in front of me like that. I love that from Victor. He's flying around out there.
That's a man playing with style. That's what that is.
That's right. Anyway, he was the MVP of that Houston series to me. He came up in a really big way in all 3 of those games.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, before we spend too long on this Mariners team, obviously we've talked a little playoffs. Everybody's excited about that. Let's just do our floaters and flounders. We'll talk kind of through the playoffs as we go. I'm going to go first, and I am going to take, as one of my floaters, we are going to take JP. I wanted to say it, but I won't say it. JP Crawford. He has, in the month of September, he's hitting 308 with a 384 on base and a 508 slugging for an 892 OPS. And this is a guy who, for the last couple months, has been like a sub 650 OPS guy. Like, he's been really not that great for the last couple months. And in September, he's really turned it on in a real way. And that is just something that I wanted to shout out, because it's against good opponents, it's against bad opponents, but at the end of the day, he's providing when the Mariners have needed it, and it just feels like every time the Mariners need a clutch hit or like a big hit, JP's up and in like a situation and is able to produce. And that, like, first of all, it feels like everybody's doing that, but JP feels like he's also able to, hit that guy on second in from just a base hit. He's able to get a base knock when the team needs it, and I've just loved watching him hit this month. It's been really fun.
Yeah, he's also doing a surprisingly impressive job slugging.
Yeah.
508 slugging in the month of September. That includes 3 home runs, which ties his month high for the season, and 4 doubles. So for a guy that we don't really, he's our singles machine.
Yep.
That extra power, obviously we saw with the Grand Slam against Houston, but that extra power has been awesome to see and very timely. And I think that's what, I don't want to steer this away from the floaters and flounders conversation, but it just seems like everybody, except maybe one guy we'll talk about, is playing their best baseball right now, which is why everyone's just so excited. It's how you win, what is it now, 14 of 15?
Yeah.
Victories? And it's just because everyone is cooking.
It has me, and this is something that we shouldn't be necessarily worried about, but it has me a little scared that the Mariners are peaking a tiny bit early. Like, if they can ride this wave, that would be awesome. But a bye in the first round coming up against a team, whether it's, the Tigers or the Guardians or the Red Sox or the Yankees, whoever comes out of these wildcard games is going to be a good opponent. And so this bye has me just really wanting them to stay hot, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm a little nervous about the peak right now, just because it could simmer down.
Yeah, the rare situation where I almost don't want to buy so we can just keep playing games. But the fact of the matter is, and again, we have not locked it down, but I'm assuming that we will. And if we do, it will be the first ALDS since 2001.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And we'll be walking into it. And we'll be walking into it not particularly afraid of anybody. The Blue Jays, I still think, are, other than maybe the Mariners and the Yankees, I think those are the 3 teams in the AL I look at. But both the Blue Jays and the Yankees have had issues as of late. Mariners are certainly looking like one of the most dangerous teams in baseball right this second. So Sorry, I pulled you away from JP. JP has been awesome.
No, and that was kind of it. I just wanted to shout him out. He's been really good over the last little stretch, and it doesn't really show on his on his baseball savant or his spray chart or anything like that. He's just been really good. Like his counting stats have been really good for this last month, which has led his batting average and everything to go up. But when you look at just the raw hard hit percentage, barrel percentage, this isn't a guy who hits the ball super hard, and so you can kind of miss it. But it has been a really good month for JP. I had to shout him out.
100%. I literally couldn't help myself. I looked up Victor Robles' stats. I've been so hot on him, and I can't even talk about him. His stats are incredibly pedestrian, even in the short term. It's just huge. It's like he's got one walk in his last 6 outings. It just happens to be that bases loaded walk. Obviously, 1 home run on the season, so I can't talk about Robles. But I just want to let you know I did test the water. With mine, I'm going to take it down a notch. We're going to get a little bit mellow here and talk about a guy that we dearly love who has been dearly struggling, and that is none other than the homeboy Eugenio Suarez. Following up a month of August where he was batting 186 with a 402 slugging, following that up with a 190 batting average with a 443 slugging so far in September. This dude is being outslugged by J.P. Crawford, and obviously being down, 110 batting average points is going to contribute to that, but he's really struggling all around the way. I will say 5 home runs on the month. That's good. We like that. That's an important thing for this team. But other than the home runs and the impeccable vibes, and also a decent walk rate, he's got 8 walks on the month. Besides those 3 things, he is not bringing a lot to this team.
Yeah, in the last 2 months, basically since the Mariners acquired him, he's struck out 70 times. 70 times in 2 months, and I was looking at the math. It is 176 at-bats. That obviously doesn't include walks. 176 at-bats, that is a strikeout percentage of 40. He's striking out 40% of the time. 2 out of every 5 at-bats, Gino Suarez is striking out. I want to put that into your mind. 2 out of every 5 at-bats, Gino Suarez is striking out. More than a third of every at-bat. It's just it's kind of too much. You really have to move him down the lineup at this point. Obviously, he's there to provide power in that 6 or 7 spot at this point, and he's there to hit in guys when he can. But it just feels like he's really not doing enough for this team, which really sucks, considering the guy is just beloved as a Mariners fan. We all like the guy, and he's great to have around. He's doing super fine defensively. He just hasn't been performing on the offensive side of the ball, and the adjustment back from Arizona has been a little rough for him.
Yeah. It is simply true. Again, the home runs are coming at a very reasonable clip, so we're happy to see that. The strikeout numbers, you said that, and it blew the back of my head off. I was like, that's insane. Then I went back through his month-to-month log, and that's really not crazy. He was averaging about 30 strikeouts per month over his season in Arizona, and people were talking about what a monster he was the whole time. He still had 47 home runs so far in the year. So to me, he's just going to be a strikeout king. If you look up Kyle Schwarber, I bet you'd be surprised how many strikeouts he has as well. But to me, it's just you have to be a little more efficient. If you're going to be striking out a third of the time, that means you need to be getting some hits in those other 2/3 of the time, and he's just not doing that. So I honestly don't want to complain too much because I do think his walk rate and the home run rate have been pretty good. And yeah, and the other thing, and you mentioned this, defensively, he has been a lot better than I was expecting. I think he's been playing some of his best defense of the season in these last 2 months.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to belabor the topic. It bears, we have to talk about this because going into the playoffs, right, this is a guy who you want to be performing and he just kind of hasn't. And if he underperforms, we're all going to be as a unit man, is this really how this is going to go? Are we really going to see Gino Suarez just fall off the table for this team? And it might that just might be the case. That might be what happens, which sucks. But he's kind of back down to his numbers from 2023. His on-base percentage has gone down a little bit, but his slugging is still there, right? He's still got the good slugging numbers on the season. So we'll see how he progresses. He's just been kind of middle of the road to meh recently.
Yeah, but you know what? We may not get Naylor if we don't get Gino, and if we have to bite the bullet on Gino to get what we've gotten, if you take Gino's numbers in Seattle and Naylor's and average the 2 of them and said, hey, you're going to get both of this from these 2 guys, we would say, hell yeah, snap that up. So yeah, maybe we just have to target. And then the last thing on Gino, I appreciate what you said about moving him down. I gotta say, and I wasn't a believer at first. I love the way Dan Wilson has built this lineup. It has really grown on me. I really like having, even though we have a lot of power at the top of our lineup, which isn't necessarily how I love building it, I love having just the premier power there. Then you've got clutch man Sam, who's also pretty powerful in Naylor. And then Gino just batting cleanup. Swing wild and free. He's rarely going to be at the top of any order. He's going to be coming in. Hopefully there's somebody on base and he can just swing wild. And then you have this beautiful reset on, like 7 through 9, where all those guys are just on base machines. And then when you get to that point, normally pitchers are saying 7, 8, 9, fantastic, I can relax. It's the opposite, because those guys are basically just the new 1, 2, 3 in front of Randy and Cal and Julio. And so I just really think it puts pitchers in a bind having to deal with that type of roster construction.
No, it's really just kind of a gorgeous thing that they've done. And it also it points at what we were able to do in terms of building this team, right? That's 9 hitters that are really good. Like, all things considered, this is just a really good lineup. And it's just like, it's so hard as a pitcher to come in here and be like, crap. Like, every single hitter is going to be at least a challenge to get out, right? No matter what, JP is going to put up a fight. Victor Robles is going to be free swinging, putting the ball in play. Like, everything is going to be a challenge as a pitcher and as a defense to make these games hard. And that's what has just been so impressive for this lineup. We already spent 9 minutes through 2 floaters and flounders. Let's keep it pushing. I'm going to talk about another guy who we haven't really touched on, or we touched on a few times this season, and it's been up and down. But he's a guy who's on the up end right now. A floater for sure in Luis Castillo. Through his last 3 outings, he's gone 6 innings in each outing against the Braves, Angels, and Royals. And each time he's gone 6 innings, giving up 1 run against the Braves, 1 run against the Angels, and 0 runs against the Royals. That's 2 runs in 18 innings. That's just really good work by Castillo. A whip in the month of September of .86, an ERA of 2.86, and that is all from that one Tampa Bay Rays start where he gave up 5 runs. Just really good so far. He's had a really good last few starts, and hoping he can carry this into the playoffs if he is that pitcher that we bring with us. We'll see. The pitching is actually going to be a huge question once the playoffs start. We'll probably talk about it next week, but it's going to be an interesting discussion to be had about, is Wu ready? Can he be starting? Is it Gilbert, Kirby, and no Castillo? What are we going to do about these guys? Just a very interesting discussion to be had.
Totally, and tons of flexibility allowed to us for sure. Yeah, I will say, we talked about Castillo a couple weeks ago. It was right after the Tampa Bay start.
Yep.
When after that game, he'd given up 19 runs in his last 4 starts. Now it's 2 runs in his last 3 starts. So the curse of us talking badly about a guy and him immediately turning it around, it continues. But I'm glad we were able to talk some sense into Castillo, because he has been dealing since that day.
Yeah, no, we have to shout him out, because this might be the last time we get to, man. We might move off of Castillo. Like, he might not pitch in the playoffs. Like, this is kind of the time to talk about Castillo before he's gone. So we had to do it.
Yeah, that's crazy too. And yeah, we've talked about there's a decent chance he will not come back with, the money that needs to go to some of these free agents. So yeah, well-deserved shout out for one of the fan favorite pitchers over the last 5 years for this team. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to probably everybody's favorite pitcher on this lineup. He might not be the one you'd want to date your daughter, but he's definitely the one you'd want to date. And that is Andres Munoz, who continues to just be electric. This is like, we were just talking, I think, a week or 2 ago about how electric he's been, but he continues to be electric and continues to deserve shout-outs for coming through in some big moments here. In the month of September, he has 8 saves, 0 earned runs, only 3 hits allowed in those 9 games? What do we say, 8 games? 8 saves. Yeah, 8 games. So he's 8 for 8 with 3 hits and 0 earned runs. We'll give Robles a tip of the hat for keeping 2 earned runs off that ledger, but regardless, he has been dealing. Watching him take apart those final 3 Rockies hitters after the Naylor home run, or the Naylor double, there was this moment of like, oh, well, we're just up 1. They do have 3 hitters. And then Munoz comes out and just tears the first guy. Just dices him up. And it's like, oh, no, right, this is the Colorado Rockies and this is Andres Munoz. We've got this thing on lock. And we're really lucky to have a guy that is that competent of a closer.
Yeah, the real thing for me was the stretch from the last Royals game in the first 2 Astros games. He closed all 3 of those. Like he got us through all 3 of the ends of those games, and those were back to back to back. You rarely ever see a closer go 3 straight days, and he did that there, and it was in such high leverage situations. And obviously he did, a little bit of struggle there in that second Astros game. But all things considered, he was just so good, and he's just clutch. He's just doing everything right. 15 strikeouts to 2 walks on this month, a .63 WHIP, which is like, as a relief pitcher, you expect the whip to be a little higher because they allow more walks, things like that. But he's just been so good. It's been so impressive, and we just have to shout him out. Like, there are things that we have to do on this podcast, and it has to be Andres Munoz being talked to like he is a god, because he's been so great this season. He could be closer of the year, if not for other guys in the major leagues who have been just really dominant, like Duran and stuff like that.
One thing I will say about Munoz, and sometimes it can bite him, but to your point, very often closers will walk people at a pretty high rate because, in high leverage situations, there's certain guys you're just going to be a little, you're going to push the boundaries more on because giving him first is not the end of the world. I love that Munoz just is not one of those guys. He's averaging probably somewhere between 2 and 5 walks a month throughout this entire season. I love that he's just like, nope, I'm not throwing balls. I'm throwing strikes, try to hit him. Sometimes it can bite him in the butt a little bit, but it's a vibes move for sure, and he's our guy.
Love Munoz. Okay, we did it. We made it through the Mariners. Anything to say before we move off? Obviously, the playoffs are just going to be so fun. You guys, we're once a week. We do this every Wednesday, so you guys might not see us until the playoffs start, but it's going to be such a fun couple weeks of Mariners discussion if they get the bye, and if not, just Mariners baseball. Like, playoff baseball is such a different vibe, so we are stoked.
It's coming regardless, man. We can stop worrying about making or missing the playoffs. Now we're just worried about seeding. So cool, man. So cool. The last thing I want to say is, again, if we sweep this Rockies team, 2 more Rockies victories, there's nothing else to worry about. If we sweep the Rockies, the Dodgers series is purely cosmetic. That is such an awesome situation to be in. I can't believe before the Astros series started, if you would have told me we're in this situation, that our destiny is so much in our own hands. So the game today and tomorrow are really big. Let's sweep this trashy-ass Rockies team, and then we can just enjoy the Dodgers series. It'll just be fun, but we will have locked up the number 2 seed in the first-round bye in the AL playoffs. Come on, boys. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Here I am just like clapping for myself.
Fired up, man.
All right. Before we go to the Seahawks, we've got a few more things to touch on. And first off, I got to talk Apple Cup, right? The Huskies won against the Washington State Cougars 59-24 in what was basically 2.5 quarters of close game football and then a quarter and a half of absolute thrashing of the Washington State Cougars. Damon Williams Jr., 16 completions in 19 attempts for 298 yards. 16 completions for 300 yards, basically. 4 touchdowns. He also carried the ball for 13 times for 88 yards and a touchdown. It was the Damon Williams Jr. game. He just showed out, and it was just so fun, man. Talk to me. What were your thoughts coming out of this game?
Well, yeah, it was definitely his game. 380 total yards and 5 total touchdowns is insane. Definitely his best game as a collegiate quarterback. Love to see that. And yeah, man, it was crazy. Shout out to Washington State. Obviously, we're going to talk about both sides. They had a valiant fight at the end of the third quarter. They were down 7 points. This was a game, but oh my God, the start of that fourth quarter, the Huskies scored 21 points in 2 minutes and 41 seconds. That is crazy. Obviously, the pick six very helpful in that, but still, that is ridiculously efficient offense and defense to just absolutely slam the door on what looked like another good Apple Cup. Revenge for Mateer. We got it back on the west side. Let's go Dogs.
Yeah, also, shout out Mateer. He's a little injured right now, a little banged up. Gonna ruin his Heisman candidacy, but that's okay. Another guy I wanted to shout out, Jonah Coleman, right? Still being super efficient, right? 12 carries for 59 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's really good. But really where he was most effective was six receptions for 104 yards. The guy was just catching screens, and UW was just like, hey, run with these blockers. Do your thing. And it was so effective. It was so cool.
Yeah, we were seeing the weakness of that Wazoo defense up front. Yeah, it looks like he was, lining up outside, but it was really just the screen game. They were dominating the line of scrimmage, and the screens were just basically hyper effective runs for him. So, yeah, awesome. What's that put him at? 160 total scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns. Monstrous. One last guy on UW, and I love games like this where it's like, okay, 3 people to talk about. Demon was a monster. Jonah Coleman was a monster. And how about Denzel Boston? 6 receptions, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'll just tell everybody I've been playing some college football 26, and I created a quarterback, and I love throwing deep balls to Denzel Boston. And it's nice to see that me and Demond are on the same page of how to utilize Boston.
Dude, the man's he's just a vertical route runner with the size and speed to actually be super effective. He's kind of like a Dunze. He's basically a Dunze 2.0, which is really cool to see. He's been very, very nice. I guess 2.0 would imply that he's better, but he's
0.5.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were going to say Alex McLaughlin, man. He had 2 interceptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. That was a huge game in terms of him on the defensive side of the ball. Like you said, we controlled the line of scrimmage from both sides. Defensively, we were really good. We got a bunch of tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Just really good on the in terms of the trenches. So really just a fun game. Now we get to look ahead. I just want to hear your thoughts about this looking ahead.
Yeah, it's... Well, I guess, do you want to talk Wazoo first, or do you want to look ahead and then come back to Wazoo?
Let's come back to Wazoo. I guess we'll go to Wazoo. I don't really have too much to say about it. They just kind of did their thing.
Yes, but there's one really big thing that came out of this game. Obviously, not the result that they wanted. You know, we respect both sides. You know, we're West Side guys, but this is a Washington sports podcast. We like our Cougars too. The big thing to come out of this was the emergence of Zevi Eckhouse, or Eckhouse. I don't know exactly how you pronounce it.
I think it's Eckhouse.
Eckhouse at quarterback for them. He was not starting a quarterback last week. That was Julian Duggar, who struggled mightily. They gave Zevi Eckhouse the start this week, and he came through in a big way for them. He threw for 280 yards and 2 touchdowns against this Washington defense, 95 QBR. He kept them in it for 3 quarters. Obviously, 2 costly picks, 1 for the pick 6, but he looked really, really good and a lot better than Duggar had looked in his last couple of starts. So I've been seeing a lot of stuff about, why hasn't he been starting all year? He stepped in for Mateer last year and looked really good. What was this coaching staff thinking, giving the job to Duggar over him? But it looks like he secured the starting job with that very impressive performance against UW.
Yeah, and he was able to spread the ball out a lot. I think let me count real quick. 5, 10, 14 different targets. 14 different targets over those 25 completions. That's a good number, right? And nobody had more than 3 receptions. He was spreading the ball out a ton, getting it to his guys wherever they were open, and it wasn't, that just shows his ability to make reads, right? Long term, he's going to be good at making reads, getting that ball out and doing what he needs to do. It was all things considered a very good outing by him. I will give him that shout out.
For sure. Okay. That's enough of this game. Now we can look at it.
All right. This week, the University of Washington plays the number 1 ranked team in the nation in the Ohio State Buckeyes. The spread is currently, they opened at minus 13.5 Ohio State in Ohio State's favor. It's now down to minus 7.5. That's a lot of money on Ohio State by more than 7.5 points. How do we feel about that?
I'm amazed. I can't believe how close the line is. To be fair, Ohio State, they've been playing clowns. They beat up on University of Ohio and Grambling State. Their only really good game this season was their 14-7 victory over Texas. Hard to judge. That seemed like a really impressive win coming out of week 1, but the way we've seen Texas and their offense struggle, maybe it was a little less impressive than we thought at first. That must be what people are thinking. I can't believe that it's only 7.5 points. I can't believe that UW currently has a 27% win probability. I do not feel like there's a 1 in 4 chance they beat the number 1 team in the country. I was curious. I feel like UW's been playing awesome, and I was curious to see if they would creep into the top 25 with the way that they've been playing. I was disappointed to see that they have not. I know it's in Seattle, and I know I really like this UW offense. I don't understand how we could come out on top of this Ohio State defense with all the money they're pouring into that program.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is the home field advantage for UW is real. Like the crowd is going to be loud. It's going to be in Ohio State's face. That's going to be really nice. Gosh, I'm so excited for this. I can't get over it, but
Game.
it's going to be so good. I really think like saying the Ohio State quarterback hasn't been that impressive, all things considered, right? They've got basically the same exact passing yards with Damon Williams Jr. And he's got some more touchdowns, but he's also thrown 3 interceptions. Like he's prone to giving up the ball, and especially when it comes to that game against Texas, they were really unable to move the ball. Their defense was really, really stout against a Texas team that seems to be struggling a little bit offensively. But I think Texas's strength is their defense. They definitely have not seen an offense as potent as this Damon Williams Jr. led offense with Jonah Coleman, Denzel Boston, the impact guys that we have on the offensive side of the ball, as well as this is their first like Big Ten matchup. Obviously, Texas is I think they're SEC now, but it's just like a real conference game that has a lot more stakes than I think people will give it credit for. And I have a feeling that UW's going to be competing in this game. I think they're going to keep Ohio State down offensively. I feel like it's going to be kind of like those UW-Oregon games from a few years back when, UW was competing for the, I guess a couple of years back now at this point, but competing for the college football playoff. Everybody thought Oregon was better, and we were able to sneak out 2 wins against Oregon that year. Like, that's just kind of what the vibes could be for this UW team. I agree with you. I don't think they're going to win this game. I think this is the kind of game that if Damon Williams had 2 more years under his belt, then he could definitely win. But he's a sophomore. He doesn't have a ton of experience. I think this is going to be a decently close game, but I would expect us to lose by probably like 10 points.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever played a defense like this. This is the best offense and the best defense what UW's played all year.
Yeah.
I know things look great against Washington State, but we're not that far removed from a 38-21 win over Colorado State. Ohio State and Colorado State are in 2 different stratospheres. Yeah, we'll see. I'm glad to see that the action is that close. I would be so pumped if this was like a 1-possession game going into the 4th quarter. I would be jumping up and down and so excited to watch. I hope that's the case, but I think there's a good chance UW gets smacked. I'll tell you what, they're going to need to score 27 points at least if they want to win this game, because Ohio State's offense isn't the best, but they do have Jeremiah Smith, and they do have a good, group of running backs like they always do. I don't think this UW defense is as stout as it's looked against some subpar competition. Ohio State's going to score, so they're going to need at least 27 offensive points against a top 5 defense in the country in Ohio State. So it's a tall task.
Yeah, let me tell you, Ohio State's been so they in terms of their rushing game, it's a little questionable when it comes to. They've got kind of 3 guys. They've got Bo Jackson, Donaldson, and Peoples, who I don't know, but the Donaldson and Peoples tandem has combined for 58 carries for under 300 yards. Right, that's basically a sub 5 yards a carry duo right there, and they've combined for most of the carries. And then Bo Jackson recently has come on with 18 carries for 217 yards, so maybe they've kind of figured out who their lead running back's going to be, but they've really, their rushing game is not as solid as I feel like it's been made out to be. Jonah Coleman is obviously UW's big guy with 350 yards basically. It's an interesting matchup because there are questions regarding the Ohio State offense and how it will perform against a Big Ten defense. And obviously, they scored 14 points, but I'm pretty sure one of those was a defensive touchdown against Texas. So, they really haven't proven much against a good offense or a good defense so far to me. And there's, like I said, there's just a world. There's a world where it's competitive, and that's why it has me so excited, man. I'm just so stoked for this game.
Yeah, it should be a good one. There was not a defensive touchdown against Texas, but they did get some good field positioning. So
maybe that's what it was.
We will see how it turns out. Exciting things. On the other side, Wazoo gets Colorado State, which I think should be a fun, competitive team. 2 similar level teams. Wazoo hoping to get back on track and stay in control of the Pac-12 title race. It helps that Oregon State has yet to win a game.
Wazoo's just hoping for a bowl, man. Wazoo just wants 6 wins. That's at the end of the day, that's all Wazoo can hope for right now. I will say with the new quarterback situation, I think they're in a good spot, but Colorado State's not bad. Colorado State's really not a bad football team, and they've played some good teams.
I think that will be a good game, setting them up for Ole Miss next week. That's going to be the game I'm really looking for. Yeah, I'll break the Cougs gear out for that one, but let's see if they can get through the Rams.
Yes. All right, a couple quick notes. We've got a couple other teams before we jump into the Seahawks and some value dogs later. The Kraken started the season 1-1. They won their first game and then lost their second, if it wasn't obvious. And nothing really to write home about. It's just kind of an expected start for this team. Do you have anything to say about that?
I did not know the season had started, and now that you've told me, I don't care.
Okay. The Sounders have played one game since we last talked. They had just lost to Miami when we talked last, and they just lost 2-1 to ATX, which I believe is Austin. So nothing really to write home about. The Sounders are still in a good spot, and they'll be coming back home or finishing the season strong in terms of the Western Conference standings, and still hoping to make a good run at the playoffs here soon.
Yeah, that was a disappointing loss. 6 minutes of extra time until Austin finally scored to break the tie, but that was a last-minute loss. But it happens. Hopefully they can right the ship here because, yeah, this is not the time of year you want to be stacking losses.
Yep. And then last and certainly not least, the Storm, our Seattle Storm. They lost their playoff series 2-1 to the Las Vegas Aces in quite the tough game. John, break it down how that game went.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. They played such a tough game. I love this group. They really gave it their all against one of the best teams in women's basketball. I really think if they could have gotten through the Aces, the path would be open for them to try to make a run. Minnesota is also, fighting Phoenix, I believe, right now. I think they're tied 1-1. So I just think, I'm bummed they couldn't get through. Nyeka was good. Skylar Diggins was good. Erica Wheeler was very good. The rest of the roster kind of struggled. I would have liked to see a little more offense from the rest of the team. But defensively, I thought they did a great job against everybody not named Asia Wilson, who just devoured them for 38 points.
Yeah.
They lost 74-73. Asia scored 38 of their 74 points. She was a monster. There's a reason she's, the 3 or 4-time MVP now. And then, hate to say it, but shout out to Jackie Young for the go-ahead field goal that secured the win for the Aces. We did take the lead there in the last minute and just couldn't hold on. This is the third straight game against the Aces where we've outscored them in the fourth quarter. So I love that, grit and toughness from this team, but just shy of getting the job done against the Aces.
Yeah, I feel like the person who I'm a little bit, or I guess the people that I'm a little bit torn between right now is the Gabby Williams and Ezzy combo. Just, 7 for 13. They really just kind of were a non-factor, all things considered. Like those are just touches that you get kind of naturally in a 40-minute game. And the fact that they were only scored 16 points combined between the two of them is just kind of didn't feel like enough. Dominique also just with 3 points in this game wasn't really that much, but it was a defensive battle. So the Asia Wilson domination of that one was kind of crazy.
Yeah. When it was, to be fair, it was our top scorers who were lacking the most efficiency.
Yeah.
Nyeka, Diggins, and Wheeler were all shooting roughly 33% from the field on their shot attempts. And now, they're the ones being asked to do the scoring, which puts more of a load on them. But, not super efficient. I'm very excited to see what next year looks like as Dom continues to develop. But, who knows how many more years Nyeka and Diggins have at this level. So the iron might be at its hottest next season. We will see what kind of window gets open there.
Yep. All right, John, it is officially time. We've made it through everything, and we can talk about the NFL. It's time to talk Seahawks. And let's really quick recap of last week. Obviously, the Seahawks-Saints game, the Seahawks dominated 44-13 against a team that we all expected them to dominate. The real thing was, though, the defense and kind of the special teams and everything that came out of that. The offense was good, but I feel like the defense and kind of the kick return from Torrey Horton, like that was just kind of the shining moment for this game for the Seahawks. What were your thoughts coming out of it?
Yeah, no, 100%. It was the defense, it was the special teams. It was definitely the Torrey Horton game. Shout out to our boy Torrey breaking out on 2 different sides of the ball, getting his first touchdown ever on a kick return, and then his second touchdown and first catching the ball in the third quarter, receiving touchdown from Sam Darnold. But yeah, I think this was the perfect Seahawks game. They dominated all 3 phases. Sam Darnold only had to throw 18 passes. He completed 14 of them for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, 155 QBR. He was basically perfect with what he was asked to do. Running game wasn't great, but we didn't need it to be great. Our defense was completely smothering. Our special teams was awesome. We just put our throat on the Saints. We put our throat on the Saints' boot and choked them out. That's when you're really dominant, when you can flip it on them.
That's some weird stuff you're into, buddy.
But yeah, it was a perfect game. It was even worse than it looked. They got a cheap fourth quarter touchdown nobody was paying attention to. This team was up 44-6. Yuck.
Yeah, it was like you said. It was kind of the Torrey Horton game. We all lightly expected him to kind of show out here at some point this season. And the fact that he, 3 catches for 32 yards isn't anything to write home about, but this is kind of the like, oh, this is a guy who can play for this team and be effective. So that was really cool to see. And then he also, Kenneth Walker, 16 carries for 38 yards. Not a ton there, but he did score 2 times. And really what it came down to was this Seahawks defense kept the Saints in a position to where the offense didn't really have to do as much as they normally would, right? They didn't let long drives come down the field and get pinned inside the 10 and have to drive really far down the field. It was, hey, the Saints have the ball at the 20, they're going to punt it to us at the 25, and we're going to get the ball back, and good punt returns, all that kind of stuff leads us to short fields and a lot of points in this game. And the real interesting thing is this is kind of the epitome of what just happened in the UW Wazoo game as well, right? You had Damon throwing basically, I think, 16 of 19, I think is what we said. Darnold goes 14 of 18, and then Eckhouse and Zevi Eckhouse throws like 25 for 36, and Spencer Rattler goes 28 for 39. And they have this, for the Seahawks and Saints, they have the same exact yards in terms of their passing offense. And it's just like the difference in efficiencies and how they were able to do it was just really, really shown. And I think the blocking scheme is coming together. I think the zone blocking has been it's been improved. I think it was an improvement. Obviously, the Saints aren't good, but it was kind of the prime time for them to test it out, and it did its job in this case. I think they'll get better and better as the season goes along, just like the Seahawks defense will. And this upcoming week will be a real test.
Yeah, I think we expected the Saints win. Glad to get to 2-1. This team should be 3-0. But now we face, man, dude, this NFC West is looking really good. I'll tell you what, the Rams got hosed. We'll talk about that. But they should still, as a division, be undefeated outside of division play. We've got the 2-1 Cardinals in Glendale coming up. What are your thoughts on this game? This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, before the season, I think you and I were higher on the Cardinals than a lot of just the public in general. I think people think that the Cardinals have not really made any improvements, and I think you look at this offense and you think, okay, that is true, but where their improvements came were on the defensive side of the ball, and I think it's going to be an interesting game for our offense in terms of how they're able to go moving forward in terms of, is this zone blocking thing going to work well? Are we going to be able to develop the running game? Like, all things considered, Kenneth Walker was not very good in this Saints game. 16 carries for 38 yards is not that great. He didn't have to do much, but it's not really that good. And we'll see how it goes in this Cardinals game that, they upped their defensive side of the ball pretty heavily.
100%. Yeah, I think the Cardinals are really good. I think they have not been playing their best football, and there's a chance that the Seahawks have these last couple of weeks. They've been really good at the Seahawks, so maybe that's just who they are, but maybe they've been peaking a little bit. We'll talk about it a little more in Value Dogs, but I think this is going to be a very competitive game. Seahawks fans are flying high right now, and they should be. Do not expect us to walk all over this Cardinals team. These are two good football teams, and I do think the Cardinals offense, despite what we've seen the last couple of weeks, I think this Cardinals offense is a lot more dangerous than the Hawks offense as currently constructed.
Yeah, you look at how...
You know what? I'm so sorry.
You're
That's
good.
my mistake. I completely forgot that James Conner destroyed his body.
That's true.
And now Trey Benson's right. That's a big loss for the Cardinals. It's a big value to the Seahawks. Their running game is going to be really hurt. So just want to make that caveat. I was thinking this whole time that Conner was playing.
Yeah, I think the other thing to note is, right, the 49ers played the Cardinals this last weekend, and they won 16-15, right? That's a close game, just very similar to the Seahawks game, and either team could have won in both of those scenarios. I think it goes to show, first of all, how tight the NFC West is, right? This Niners team is somehow 3-0, but they've played 2 just insanely close NFC West games, and they keep losing people to injury. I think long-term, the Niners have the worst outlook when it comes to how the season's going to shake out. This week, strangely enough, feels like this is like the Seahawks kind of playoffs or bust part of the season. Like, if they can beat this Cardinals team, that's a huge, huge step. But if they don't, and they go to 2-2, and they just don't really take any sort of step forward here, I think we're going to see like an 8-9, 9-8 Seahawks season that really doesn't do much. Because they got the Bucks, the Jags have looked really good. They got the Texans, who's going to be an interesting one for the offense. And then, kind of another stretch here in the middle of the season that's going to be a little easier. But this is a game they kind of need to win, all things considered. If they're going to be a playoff team, if we think they're a playoff team, they kind of need to win this Cardinals game.
Yeah, I appreciate the thought behind that. That's fair. I try not to overreact too much. It is just week 4. But I get what you're saying about the schedule and this division being what it is. I would say even more important than that, and it kind of ties into it. I want to see Sam Darnold continue to play really well. He's
Yeah.
been really good the last 2 weeks after a pretty shaky week 1. I just want to see him continue to be really good because, man, I will tell you what, he is earning an extension with this team the way that he's playing. He's been really, really good. Definitely a top 15 starting quarterback. Frankly, he's been a lot better than Geno has in.
Yeah.
And obviously, people can argue about which of those situations is better, but Darnold's been really good. Him and JSN have been immediately connecting on a real level. Him and Cooper Kupp are coming along. He gets the tight ends involved. So, obviously, a win would be great, but even more important, I don't want to see Sam fall off. I want him to throw for 250 yards and a pair of touchdowns and no more than 1 pick. If those 3 boxes are checked, it's another good Sam Darnold game, and I'm happy.
Yeah. Another thing to note, the Seahawks do get Witherspoon back this week, as well as Julian Love. So a couple good additions to the defensive back system, part of the defense. So that's very important. We've been playing without Witherspoon for the last couple weeks, and it kind of feels like he hasn't been missing. But this is a big key piece of this defense, and we didn't play the best teams over the last couple weeks, but this is going to be an interesting test to see, like, okay, is the Seahawks defense for real versus a decent Cardinals offense? Like, can they hold this team to sub 20 points? Like, if they can do that, I really do believe in the Seahawks defense long term.
Yeah, they've been statistically top 5 in almost every category. They're the number 1 fantasy defense for anybody that cares. And this is the perfect time for them to get healthy as this schedule starts to really heat up. So that's another thing. A Sam Darnold, big piece of this, and then let's see the defense continue to be top 5 in the NFL. Those 2 things happen, and I'll feel great.
Yep. All right. That being said, do you want to talk if we think they're going to win this game? I feel like we kind of summarized that. I think it's going to be a close one, but we don't have to dive too deeply into this because I know you've got a value dog pick.
No, I changed it, man.
Oh, did you just change it?
Spoiler alert, I did have the Cardinals plus 1.5 against the Seahawks. I thought that was good value. I just think the Cardinals are on par with this team, and getting points is good, especially at home. But I forgot about the loss of James Conner. He's been one of the most consistent, efficient backs in the NFL. Now they have Trey Benson. Nobody likes Trey Benson. Kyler can be really good. Kyler can be really bad. But Kyler is at his worst when all eyes are on him. So I do think with this defense playing the way it is, lined up against a potentially one-dimensional offense, there's a chance they could kind of feast. So, I'm trying not to go too back on what I said. I do think it's going to be a good game, but I am taking the...
Yeah, I think I am too. I think with the loss of Connor, the Seahawks should be able to really, really lock down Kyler, keep him contained, have a spy, whatever they need to do. But I think it'll be an easier game for them now that Connor's gone and they can't really run the screen game or the running game at all.
Seattle's getting healthier while the Cardinals are getting more hurt. So,
yep.
Yeah, good place to be.
All right. For those of you that are new here, we always do this every week of the NFL season. We've been doing this for 3 years. It is time for your Sound Up Seattle Week 4 NFL Value Dogs. What that means is we each pick 3 underdogs that we think their points add enough value that you should take them in your bets. Currently, last week we did not do so well. We went as a duo. We went 0-6. We each give 3 picks. We each lost every single pick. John, do you want to just give a little shout out to your one pick that you should have had?
So brutal, man. I just say we should really do an insurance parlay every week. We should take like $2 and put it on all 6 of our picks being wrong. We could have bought each other a nice steak dinner after last week. But
that's true.
I'll just say we picked some big, messy picks that I'm not very happy with. I don't want to give us too much sympathy. Broncos barely didn't cover versus the Chargers. Plus 2.5, they lost by 3. Vegas wins again. Taking the Giants plus 6 against the Chiefs was a mistake on my part. You got kind of hosed on the Pats.
Dude, the Pats had 5 turnovers. Like that, they should have had that game. That was wild.
And lost by 1 score. You should have had that one. Texans suck, but we didn't know that yet, so I don't blame you for the 1.5. And then Raiders suck. We might have seen that one coming. But it was against Mariota. Who saw that coming? The one pick of these that we got really screwed on. We should have been 1-5. I had the Rams plus 3.5 against the Eagles. They had the Vegas lock where they were down 1 or 2 and were kicking a field goal with like 5 seconds left. And it's like, okay, I win either way. Obviously, I wanted my dog to win outright, but even if they miss the field goal, the game's over. Of course, the field goal gets blocked, and a defensive tackle that weighs like 280 pounds ran it 70 yards back for the touchdown. You really just should have taken a knee. It's more dangerous to run it back because they could potentially strip it and take it the other way. So I hope the coach is giving him an earful for that because was a risky play, and damn it, that's one of the all-time bad beats. How do you lose in that situation? Literally the only thing that could happen. So thanks a lot, McVay.
Yes, and so now before we go into the picks real quick, I just want to say underdogs so far this season against the spread are covering 46.8% of the time. That is lower than you would expect, right? We usually see a little bit above 50%, 50 kind of 52ish to 55, somewhere in that region. So the fact that we have not been covering, or the underdogs have not been covering against the spread, is not going in our favor. It's been happening every year. We're hoping it turns around this year, but for now,
and we're 4-5, man.
Yeah, we're 4-5. We're doing great. We're doing great.
We're a buoy in a storm. We're just waiting it out. Our day will come.
All right, you want to go first? You want me to?
I will go first, and I'm going to take the team. I've been avoiding them all season because I love them very dearly, and I've been using this as an emotional hedge, but it's time. The Indianapolis Colts, plus 3.5 against the LA Rams. Colts have been underdogs twice so far this year and have won both those games outright, and both those games in good fashion. I love getting 3.5 here, getting more than a field goal. I think if the Colts lose, them losing by 3 is very realistic. The other thing is this Colts team might just be one of the best teams in football. They've been awesome. Their defense is really good, really deep, plays on every level. The Colts offense is really balanced. Daniel Jones is playing great, but not doing too much. He doesn't even have like a Sam Darnold level of workload. He's got great receivers, great tight end, great offensive line, and the best running back in football. Rams are good, but I'm getting 3.5 points with the Colts. Give me Indy.
Yeah, the Colts scare me a little bit in the sense of if they're playing a good team and they get down, they're kind of relying on Daniel Jones to get them a comeback, right? If you're down in the NFL, you kind of have to pass your way out of it. And so that's what's a little scary is the fact that they would rely on Daniel Jones to make that comeback happen or keep them in this game. But 3.5 points is a lot of points. It's good. It's good value.
What he's done is play 3 weeks and be hyper efficient and throw the ball downfield. He's not just dinking and dunking either. He's taking shots down the field to Josh Downs and Tyler Warren in this receiving core, and all he's done is do it very successfully.
Yeah, well, and what a lot of people said about this Colts team early on was that Daniel Jones just didn't sync with that philosophy. Like that was kind of how the Colts were built, were for those long passes for the Anthony Richardson type, and Daniel Jones was the acquisition. And they were like, "What are you guys talking about? Why would you sign him?" And he's been really good at this, so got to shout him out there. I liked the line. It made me a little nervous, so I didn't go with it. What I did go with was. God, I hate myself, man. I was so in on this team last year. I was so in on them, and they got me every single week. They were like, nah, sorry. But they just got me again. The Panthers smacked around the Falcons last week, and now they're plus 5.5 versus the Patriots. And the Patriots obviously should have beat the Steelers. We said that. But the Patriots are not that great. The Panthers have shown that they can keep and backdoor cover. They can keep with any team and backdoor cover any game. 5.5 points is a lot. When it comes to this season, right? I feel like most games are finishing in that 1, 2, or 4 point range, and it feels like 5.5 will get this cover. It does make me nervous that this is kind of a Pats win or go home game when it comes to them long term this season. Like they need this win, but the Panthers are also kind of in that boat. If they can get this win, if they can win this game, they're in a good spot to finish in the middle to higher end of the NFC South. When it comes, they're in the South, right? If they can get that second place spot in the South, then I think they'll be very happy with where they finished this year. The Falcons don't look nearly as good, so we'll see. But I like this plus 5.5 for the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean this is to your point, it's a huge spot for both teams. But yeah, Panthers. I mean, Bucks have looked great, but they're also really beat up. The South is anybody's to take. Atlanta just got their butts kicked by this Panthers team, and the Saints suck. So why can't the Panthers compete for the NFC South? So they're both highly motivated. 5.5 points is a ton of points. The Pats have looked like a mess. Their defense has been good, but they've just looked like a mess. And the Panthers had a real breakout game last week. They dominated the Falcons on both sides of the ball. Their offense looked like it finally got some rhythm. So I think this is an awesome pick. The only reason I don't have it is because you do, and I'm trying to keep us separate but equal. I think that's a really good one against the Pats. For my second pick, I love this one. This one doesn't make any sense to me at all. I think this is the best pick of the week. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 3.5 against the 49ers. This Jags team is good, man. They should be 3-0. They blew a crazy lead to Cincinnati with Jake Browning, which looks bad now. But other than that, they've played pretty well. Their offense is, kind of fits and starts, but Travis Etienne looks a lot better than he did last year. and their defense looks really solid. Their defense looks really good. They're getting 3.5 points against a 49ers team that just lost their best defensive player for the year, joining, three of the other four most highly played players on this team who are also on the injured reserve right now. And they have Mac Jones at quarterback. The Niners just barely beat a Cardinals team that they probably should have lost to. By the way, 3.5 would have covered for the Cards, so it's not like they beat the Cards by 7. And they have Mac Jones at quarterback. I don't understand how this is just 3.5.
Yeah, I think
as much as 3.5.
I think the big thing for this game is the Jags defense, and the 49ers are just so banged up. Like those are the two things that you're like, hey, the Jags have been good, and the 49ers, while they're 3-0, like I think the line is the way that it is because they're 3-0. And then nobody's really looking at that and thinking, oh, this 49ers team like probably shouldn't be 3-0. They could be 1-2 for all intents and purposes. Like they really haven't been lights out, and to get 3.5 points against them is really nice. So I like that line a lot.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to bet Jacksonville to win straight up this year. Or this game. I think they're just going to beat the Niners. I think they're just should be favored. Getting 3.5 points is Christmas. So let's go.
Yeah. All right. You'll notice a theme with my lines. I went for a little bit of a bigger one. And in this one, I think I'm going to bet against a team that I had last week just because they didn't prove anything to me. They scored, I think, 6 or 9 points last week. Maybe it was 7. It was I don't think that they've scored more than 10 points in a game this season. It feels like the Titans are +7 against the Texans, and the Titans' offense looks pretty potent. All things considered, it looks good, and the Texans just don't. Like they had a chance to come back there, and I guess they did have a lead against the Bucs in that game, right? And the Bucs were able to pull it out. But that was 2 weeks ago at this point. But either way, the Titans being +7 against a Texans team that has really its only strength is its defensive line. And I think Cam Ward, this is a true test for a rookie QB, but I think 7 points is enough to cover a touchdown spread. And I think the Titans can backdoor cover this, and it'll be not too bad considering the Texans haven't scored more than 20 all year.
Yeah, 20 was the line. I completely agree with you. This is also an amazing pick. I really, really like this one. I think we're going to bounce back in a big way this week. I think these are some juicy lines. The Texans suck. Their offense has been miserable. They've failed to reach 20 every game. Nick Chubb, the geriatric running back, has scored a third of their touchdowns this season. A third of their touchdowns.
Does he have one? Is that, yeah?
Yes, that's correct. He's got one. CJ has 2. And that's been 3 games for the Houston Texans offense. They're going up against this Titans defense is actually not a joke. The Titans have they've been kind of a mess, but they've also played Denver and Indy, who might just be 2 of the best teams in the AFC. I mean, 2 of the best 5 anyway. So they've kind of just had a tough schedule. And I think their defense is good. I think their defense is going to be plenty good to do what everyone else has been doing to the Texans, which is send 4 and get to CJ Stroud in half a second. Because their offensive line is the worst in the NFL. So their defense is going to do good. I think the Texans' defense is good, but I think Cam Ward and this offense are starting to get the wheels turning a little bit. They looked better last week. Pollard has been a totally reliable running back. He hasn't been special, but he's been very reliable. And Cam Ward, and particularly their rookie, I think it's Eric or Alec Iomanner.
Yeah, I picked him up in our league. I picked him up in our fantasy league.
I have him in my dynasty league. I'm really excited about him. I think he's flashing some real talent and real chemistry with Cam Ward. So those two things together, again, Titans could easily win this game outright. 7 points? Ludicrous.
Yeah.
Sorry, I took all your points. I was just excited about
No, dude, I feel like we're in a really good spot this week with the lines.
Yeah, we got 4 winners so far. We'll see if these last 2 pull out. When you each have to take 3, there's always some stinkers. But I'm predicting a couple of 2-1 weeks to get us back to 5.
Oh yeah.
With my final pick, I actually do like this one okay. I'm picking the Jets +2.5 against the Miami Dolphins. I would have loved if this could creep up to 3.5 as well. That's just I saw last week with Denver at 2.5. The field goal loss just hurts extra. But,
yeah, 2.5 is a tough line.
Yeah, but the thing is, Miami, it's like, okay, they had kind of a bounce back loss to the Bills. People are just excited because their offense looked a little bit better. But I still think their offensive line is a mess. I just think the Bills have a good defense, but they're not great at attacking where Miami is weak. I think the Jets have a much better defensive line. I think they're going to be able to attack Miami. This is like the transitive property. the Jets got spanked by the Bills. Miami played the Bills tight, so Miami must be better than the Jets. That's just not how it works. I think the Jets' defense is going to make life super hard on Miami. We're going to see a more close to a Indiana performance where Miami scores 10 points. And I'm really hoping that, what's his name, their quarterback can return from injury.
Fields?
Thank you. Justin Fields can return from injury. I think their offense looks a lot more dynamic with his running threat there.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if this line accounts for that, but if it's not, I think Tyrod Taylor just makes this team have a little bit of a step down. And the rushing threat of Fields plus Breece Hall plus Braylon Allen, like they've got a few rushing threats that they can dump a ball off to, or Justin Fields can get loose. And I really like the Jets in that regard. They're a little bit more dynamic than Miami is, who's pretty one-dimensional in terms of they've got screens to Achane and Tyreek down the middle because Tua can't throw it more than 30 yards. So that's kind of their bread and butter, and it's an interesting matchup because you've got two teams who are really one-dimensional. And their defenses are solid, and we'll see how they can adjust to each other. But I like getting points there, so I really thought about that line for sure.
And Miami, I do not think has a very good defense, and just like this Jets team is going to suck against good defenses because if you can just play the run, they have one downfield threat in Garrett Wilson. But if they're playing a bad defense and can just control the line of scrimmage, their offensive line is really good. And yeah, they've got like a three-headed running situation. If they can just control that and then play action to Garrett Wilson, I think their offense can look good against bad defenses. I think Miami is a bad defense.
You know what this game is? This is the Sauce Gardner for best defensive player in football because he gets 2 interceptions against Tua. Like that this is like the kind of game that he thrives on. He just eats guys who aren't very good.
Yeah, I see it.
This is like, oh, did you see this game? This is why Sauce is the best defensive player ever. And it's like Tua was concussed in the first quarter and is thrown 2 just like hospital balls. Like this is that game.
Taking it the other way. You know what? I see Sauce picking him off and then Tua trying to be the last guy.
Oh.
And Sauce just lays him out. It's like, how did he get concussed again?
Oh, either way, I think we both are fans of this line. My last one, I'm not the biggest fan of the line, but I've decided that the storyline is what matters here, and it is that Jackson Dart is now the starting quarterback for the Giants, and he needs to have a good week for this Giants fan base to stay in it. And the Giants get 6.5 points versus the Chargers team that hasn't really put any teams away. They've been good defensively and obviously good offensively, but it feels like the Chargers haven't really reached their full potential, which is crazy because they're 3-0 and playing really well. But the Giants really need to at least be competitive in this game. I don't think they're going to win. I think they're going to go to 0-4, but I think this is going to be a game where that Giants defensive line has a real impact. Thibodeau plus Abdul Carter is going to be a really nice combo for Justin Herbert to have to deal with, especially as a guy who has been injured basically every single year since he's been drafted, it feels like. This is a guy who's going to be pressured a lot this game, and we'll see how he reacts to that. As well as, I do think the rookie QB coming in, taking the place of Russell Wilson, and everybody is so high on Jackson Dart. Like, this is his nut up or shut up time, and I believe in him in terms of covering 6.5 points,
Totally. Yeah, I respect the exciting rookie quarterback taking over for the clearly washed vet. That's always a bounce to your offense, and I'm sure it will be in this case. I also just want to say I looked at this line and I didn't really like it, but like even more than these 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 lines, getting 6 or more points is where the value is. That's like why we do this. This is where the value exists. I just had the Giants +6 against Kansas City and lost. And you feel like an idiot when you take the team that's clearly worse with a lot of points and they lose. But that's going to happen like, a quarter to, a third of the time. And you're always going to feel dumb. But then the next week they lose by 3. And it's like, yeah, I guess that would have been a winning line. So many NFL games are decided by 1 score or less. So much in play that could happen with garbage time points and stuff like that. So I do agree with this line. Even if my eyes hurt, my heart knows that it has value.
Yeah. You know what's crazy that we didn't go for? The Saints +15.5 against the Bills. I can't believe neither of us really even thought about that one, but I didn't. I saw that and I was like, the Bills are going to win 40-10. Like, that's just going to be that game.
I did think about it. And, honestly, that's not a bad one, too, with the way Rattler's been playing. He's protecting the ball well. But the problem is the Bills have just been running up scores on people. Like, they are not winning with grace. Like, if they can beat you by 30, they're going to beat you by 30. So it's just like,
dude, the Saints just lost by 31 to the Seahawks. And you're saying the Bills can't cover 15.5?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying if the Bills win, and I think they will, I could very much see them winning by 20 points.
Yeah, no, I see that too. Dude, I think we did it. Is there anything else you have to say before I give the sign off?
I'll just say we were patting ourselves on the back last time for how much content we packed into an hour. We just packed a whole lot of talking into an hour and 10 minutes. Pat yourself on the back.
Dude, we've been really killing it. I feel like the lives have been doing us justice. We really stay on track here and get this shit done. But for John Carey, I'm Tyler Cartwright. This has been the Sound Up Seattle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode of Sound Up Seattle, hey, check us out on YouTube. We're live there as we were talking right now. So check us out Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on our schedules. But Wednesdays or Thursdays, definitely once a week. And you can find us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at Sound Up Seattle, all lowercase, all one word. Obviously on YouTube at Sound Up Seattle. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. And then you can email us questions, comments, concerns about why we are so poor at value dogs from last week. Really talk some smack to us before we get you back this week. At soundupseattle@gmail.com. You can find me, Tyler, at TyCart50, everywhere it's important. And you can find John
playing with the Huskies in College Football 26, baby. Let's go.
Love it. Love that purple and gold. You need to beat Ohio State this week so that we get some fresh blood. All right. With all that being said, it's a go Dogs, man. I don't care that the Mariners are in the playoffs. This is my college football week that I care the most about right now. I'm so stoked.
I'm setting my sights a little lower. I appreciate the full send. I'm saying go Hawks.